11, Blast of Strangeness podcast. So now, tonight's episode, you read the title and you are correct. So now that is about these slumlord landlords. So now see, I have always lived in a lot of rental home properties throughout the years up until I actually had bought a place. So, like I said, for years I was actually living in rental properties with all these slumlord landlords. So, this one in particular, this is where it gets real good, This one in particular. So, I move into this rental house that was built in I think the year 1965 or whatever. So I move in there, and all of a sudden, everything seems fine. But then it got to the point one time where all of a sudden, at one point, something needed to be fixed. So apparently, this slumlord landlord never fixed anything while I had lived there. And he also never, ever would fix anything. Like, he wouldn't bother. He wouldn't bother fixing anything. So then, instead of fixing it, he just kept ignoring it. And he was the type to literally actually had hidden cameras set up in that house somewhere watching the tenants. So one day he decides that he is going to be there one day when no one was there. Little did he know I was there one day and he didn't know it. So he pulls in one day, starts nosing around the yard. And I said to myself, well, you've got to be kidding me. You act like no one's here, but yet little did he know I was actually there watching his every move as one of them slumlord landlords. Yeah, he was outside wandering around the yard, seeing what he could mess around with out there, and literally causing problems for no reason. So one day, another time this had happened. So I had to leave one day because I had to be somewhere, and I had to go to this appointment thing that I had to be at for a bit. So, which was quite a distance from where I had to go to an appointment. So, mind you, I leave. Well, the funny thing is, I did leave, but before I left, I saw him drive by. He must have been waiting for me to leave. I said, okay. So, a friend of mine at the time, I said to a friend of mine who was taking me to the appointment, I said, okay, before we go to my appointment, you know what? Let's do a little driving around first. So my friend said, okay. So, all of a sudden, next thing you know. So, I leave. He thinks I'm gone at this point. Little did he know, while his car was parked there, me and my friend drove by. In the meantime, he was out there screwing around with something attached to the house outside. That way, so it wouldn't work inside. So then, he literally made up this bizarre story that I was actually the one doing it. How could I have done that if I had left and drove by to see what he was up to? Because he was not supposed to be there at that specific time. So later that night, all of a sudden there's a problem, something's not working right. called him to, come take a look at it to see what's wrong. He comes over, starts bitching that, well, I saw you out here earlier messing around with this, that, and the other. And I said, excuse me. First of all, and second of all, you're the one that actually drove by, and then you thought I was gone, and little did you know, I actually circled back around to see what you were up to, and you were actually the one out there messing around with things, so don't accuse me. Oh yeah, he told me I was nothing but lazy and all these other things. I almost said, and you're a landlord. I thought to myself, you know what, get the fuck out of my rental before I have you arrested. But this is how horrible he was. He was an asshole. Not to mention a slumlord landlord. And I said something to him once. I was like, you know what? I said, why is it every time when something around here needs repair, you seem to never bother? Oh, so whatever he was out messing around with, all of a sudden, it miraculously was working again. And I said to myself, seriously? And then it got to the point where eventually I ended up moving out because he was such an asshole. And a slumlord landlord who wouldn't fix nothing. Here the place could have been falling apart and he still wouldn't have seen a problem. So it ended up getting to the point to where there were also a lot of things that he didn't tell us about the place too when we had moved in. So we actually found out that that place actually had a portal to the spirit world. Yeah. Which he never told us nothing about that or anything about the property. All he just told us was, oh, okay, well, it's up for rent, and here's what it looks like when you want to move in. That was it. So then, all of a sudden, so it gets to the point to where he wouldn't fix anything, so we did end up moving out. And then one day, we found out that after we moved out, he had all these things fixed up. And I said to myself, wow, you literally had all this all redone, like you're trying to make a profit of it in the real estate market, but yet you couldn't fix anything while we were there? Seriously? But I mind you, he was always like that. So that's like one day I had said to so one day my friend came over one day, and I said to my friend, I said, I also have this really weird suspicion that the landlord has hidden cameras on the property. After I said that, 2 minutes later, his ass is literally standing there at the door knocking. I said to myself, you've got to be kidding me. So that's when I kind of figured it out. So I had said to myself, what is up with this person? Seriously? Oh yeah. Well, it's like one day, he literally thought that, so another day I went to go see my friend one day, because, me and my friend, we had made some plans, and he says to me, the landlord, shortly after, oh, well, you were supposed to be here to maintain the lawn and all these other things on my rental property. I looked at him, I said, excuse me, first of all, and second of all, me and my friend had these plans in advance for quite a while, so don't start with me. And he's just looking at me. He's like, oh, well, you didn't clarify it with me. I said, first of all, I don't got to clarify shit with you. So when the hell did you become my boss? I don't think so. Oh, yeah. He literally sat there and implied that I was nothing but lazy. I also implied that he was nothing but an asshole. What's the difference? He was. So things were so much better, honestly, when we had moved out of there. Oh, then he had nerve to try to take it to court. And then he lost, the complete idiot. But he doesn't seem to remember any of that. Of course not. Oh, yeah. That, like I said, it was a whole nother issue with him. But yeah, I mind you. he knew this place needed some fixing and some stuff needed to be fixed. But yet, nope, he wouldn't fix anything. Well, that's like the portal that we had found in one of the bedrooms. When we asked him about that one day, he claimed that he knew nothing about it, that it was never there, that it didn't exist. He even told us that, oh, well, the place ain't haunted. I said, okay. Yeah, I said, wow, you were so full of it. I said, tell me something else that I won't believe. So then, like I said, we found out that that place was haunted because it was. There were some weird occurrences that would often happen there. So then, so one night, me and my sibling, we're sitting outside one night, like the first night we had moved in. Well, that day, later that night, we're sitting out back talking, and all of a sudden, we hear people talking, like not far from where we were sitting. So we're looking around, no one's there. We were just like, whoa, that's strange, that's weird. So then we're like, okay. And then we had a family gathering about 2 weeks later after we moved in. So we have a family gathering one day, we're all out back of the house, outside, and all of a sudden, one of my relatives hears that same strange talking that me and my brother heard one night. And we're just looking at him. He's just looking at us. He's like, do you hear that? And I was like, yeah. I said, that's funny. I said, we heard that the night we moved in. The first night we were here. He was like, whoa, really? I was like, yeah. So, literally, needless to say, I mind you, like I said, we had lived there for a couple of years, and we literally had to move because at one point, one winter there, the last winter we were at that place, the heat actually had stopped working, so we literally had to freeze in that house. Needless to say, our landlord, he didn't care. He didn't give a rat's ass. So we moved out of there, and thank God we did. But, he had a lot of nerve as a landlord, Well, so anyway, now, not to interrupt, but, so now, before you hit the subscribe button to any of my content or my YouTube channel or whatever, just make sure you read the disclaimer first. And if you want to be on the podcast, please feel free to email the podcast. And if you have any questions or anything, you can email the podcast and I will read them on here. 3 to 5 questions. And like I said, I'll read them on here. You'll get an answer and we will go from there. So just email the podcast. The email should either be on my YouTube when you click on it or in the community tab. It should be there somewhere. It's N0RDAMD3@gmail.com. Just put in there either question about the podcast video or I would like to be on the podcast, something like that you could put, and you will most likely be getting a response. And so now also be sure to like the video, share, and subscribe, and comment if you need to. Of course, you have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. I would prefer all of them. So now, anyway, back to what I was saying. So while we were living at this property, one night, the road that the property was actually on, this house that was a rental, that road actually was known to have some creepy hauntings on it. Majority of the property is on that road. So one night I was walking on that road I was walking home one night from another relative's house nearby, and all of a sudden, one of the houses on that property before I got to mine, I hear this strange noise, and all of a sudden, I'm looking, and I'm like, you know what? I better keep walking because I do not want to see what could be coming around, jumping out of someone's driveway next. I do not want to know. So I kept walking and did not want to see whatever it was. So then another night on that same road, I was with another relative who lived also not far away. Who was dropping me off home one night because we had went out for a couple of hours, to, just basically, we just figured we'd go out and, have a little fun. So some of my relatives were bringing me home one night, and all of a sudden we're just getting ready to turn on the road that I lived on at the time, and I could have swore just as we were turning on that road, this black figure appeared quickly and then was gone quickly. Now, mind you, that ain't all that had happened. That's not all that had happened. There was even a soldier one time on that property early morning once who actually walked up and down the road, poked his head towards the driveway, smiled, and then was gone. And then we have seen that same one at that rental property walking around another part of the house one time and then was gone. Then another time in this house, we actually found this really creepy looking, like old barber chair looking thing with like all these like belt looking things on it, like restraints for something. We found that up in the loft area / closet. So we found it. We took it downstairs and threw it out for the garbage. And then some of the activity stopped in the house for a while up until it started again. And then, like I said, there were very, very bizarre things that had happened in that house. There was also a time where one night, I'm pretty sure that all the interior doors on the inside all came open one night and then all suddenly shut by themselves. I'm pretty sure that actually happened one night. And then the funny thing is, there was also another time to where one day during the day, around like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, the bedroom that actually had the portal in it, we had this little wall thing you could get at the time from like Walmart, I think. It was a glass guitar with but it was like it was a mirror, but it was like a glass guitar. That was just a shape that it was in. So we actually had that hanging up on the wall in that bedroom. All of a sudden, one day, for some reason, that thing ended up falling off the wall by itself and shattered and broke all to pieces everywhere. And when it broke, for some reason, mind you, yeah, it was a lot of glass, but I'm pretty sure that glass spelled something out. I can't remember exactly what it had spelled out, but I think it had spelled out, "You need to leave now." I'm pretty sure that's what it spelled out. That was creepy. And then all of a sudden, I remember that being like one of the very last strange occurrences there. But we could not figure that out to this day, why that actually had happened there. So, another thing that we also found out about this place was that a lot of people didn't actually want to, come to find out, this landlord had, was the way he was with us, he was with all the other tenants that had lived there at the time previously before we had lived there. And I said, that's interesting why they all suddenly had to move out quickly. I could see why. All because of him and his wife. Well, she wasn't much better. She was an idiot too. So then, like I said, we had moved out of there, thank God. And then we ended up moving into another place that was basically also ran by some landlord. So here, when we tried to get out of one thing, we ended up in another. Yeah, I know. Story of my life. Ain't it great? So now, if any of you on here are actually going through something similar to that, just know you can actually do something about it. So, honestly, you're better off just to move and get away from it all, literally. So then, you don't have to go through it if you move. But like I said, if these things were taken care of like they were supposed to be. But then again, it also got to the point where we were honestly just tired of it there, because him and his hidden cameras around the place, never fixing anything that needed repair. Oh, we had enough. It was time for us to go. I mind you, we literally actually had left during the night to move out of there. That's true. It's all true. But now, there was another time there to where one day I could have swore that I heard something coming from that loft area, this strange noise. I didn't pay any mind to it. I was like, whatever. So then all of a sudden, whatever it was stopped, and I was just like, well, that was strange. So then one time, this other part of the house, I slept in one night in the secondary living room area that the house had, because see, at the time, the bedroom that I had there, I was painting it, and I had just gotten finished with painting it, so I was giving the paint time, and I didn't want to sleep in there because of the paint. So I had slept in another part of the house in the secondary living room area, and I had a very, very strange, bizarre experience in that room. And in that room, I had a very creepy out-of-body experience that only happened in that room. That's not all that happened in that room. So, like I said, when I would sleep in that secondary living room area, weird things like that would happen. And all of a sudden, after I'd had that experience, I finally woke up, did end up falling back to sleep for a bit. And then all of a sudden, this strangest thing happened. The whole room suddenly got so bright, like a strange light. And I'm like, whoa, okay. And all of a sudden, I see this big room about 4 times the size of that room. And I see this big, huge bed that's literally about almost the whole size of the room that I'm sleeping in. It was really nice in the dream, or whatever it was, or whatever was happening in that room to me. All of a sudden, I hear this awful, unpleasant screaming. And I'm like, okay, what is that? I look up. Something's floating around the room screaming. It had a whitish face, these bluish eyes. It had like this fiery red shade of hair. And it was wearing like, it had like purple all around it, like a purple cloak. This thing's screaming and screaming and screaming. And I'm like, what is that? Come to find out, it was a screaming banshee floating around the room. I was like, wow, that is so strange. So then, about a few days later, a relative ended up passing away when that happened, or slightly right after that had happened. And I had said to myself, whoa, that's strange. Then again, that is the name of the podcast, Blast of Strangeness, episode 11. And yes, there will also, actually, just let you all know, there will be a 2-part to this very, very soon coming your way. I know, ain't that sweet? Well, the reason now, what I'm going to tell the majority of you, the reason why there is a part 2 coming so quickly is because due to the fact that I actually have to have a medical issue taken care of that's real easy to take care of, which is only going to be like, it's only going to take like a couple hours to take care of. It's going to take probably like 2 hours tops, an hour to get the thing done, and then I'll be checked on, and then I can leave and come home and rest because I'll probably be very sore. I'm assuming slightly after. So that's why there is going to be a part 2. Just to let you all know. So that's why. Because as of part 2, the actual time frame for that, with the medical procedure that I'm having done, I'm not going to feel like filming this in real time like I am right now. But that's why there's actually going to be a part 2. So not to worry. And yes, part 2 is going to be very, very quick. Well, part 2 is going to be available quite quickly. So, I mean, I know you're probably all thinking, whoa, part 2 is, you're already doing a part 2? That's fast. I know, that's what I said. But that's besides the point. So now, there's also something else about that house. So, one day at this house, the door one day, I literally could have swore that the back door suddenly came open so quick and then closed awful quickly by itself. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that had happened there too. And one night, I'm watching TV in the bedroom that I had, and I had turned the light off, so because I was watching TV. I had my computer desk in there at the time, and I had a lamp over there, so I turned that off, so I could watch TV for the night. And so I'm watching TV, and I know I had turned that lamp off. All of a sudden, in that house, that lamp was suddenly back on within, about 5-10 minutes later. And I had said to myself, how on earth is this back on? So I'm looking at it. And I said, I'm pretty sure I shut it off. So, I get up, because my computer desk wasn't far from where the bed and the TV were. So I actually, get up, turn it off, and I said, aha, I know I turned it off that time. All of a sudden, another 5 or 10 minutes goes by. It's on again. And I said to myself, how does this lamp keep coming on when I know I turned it off? I said, okay, fine. It's interesting. So then it came on, so it comes on again. I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I said, you know what? I said, well, you turned yourself back on that time. Now you can turn yourself right back off. Oh, funny thing is, oh, it stayed on. And then 30 seconds later, it went off. I said, okay. Then it comes on again. So that's it. I was like, you know what? So I got up, unplugged it. As soon as I unplugged it, and obviously it was off when I unplugged it because I shut it off, unplugged it. For some reason, that lamp got so bright, and then all of a sudden, just went off. Said, okay. So I put it in the desk drawer for the night, just left it there till the next morning. So now, the next morning comes. So I said, all right, so the sun's out, Said, all right. So I get the lamp out of the desk drawer, put it back on my computer desk, plug it in. So I turn it on. It's on. And I said, okay. So I left it on for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to shut it off now. So I shut it off, and I said, aha, I know I shut it off that time. So I shut it off. All of a sudden, 2 minutes later, I go to glance up at it. Sure enough, there it is on. I said to myself, I turned it off. 2 minutes later, I look up at it. There it is on. I said to myself, excuse me, how on earth did you get turned back on? To this day, I have no clue how that happened. So I actually had to destroy that lamp. Oh, yeah. So I destroyed it, tossed it in the garbage, and never had a problem in that bedroom again with anything after I turned it off, it coming back on. Now, so like I said, very quickly, please email the podcast if you're interested in being on the podcast, or if you have any questions or anything like of what the podcast is about, of what this specific video is about, or if you're going through something similar with a slumlord landlord, I'd actually like to hear it. And so therefore, we can talk about that on the podcast, and I will see you all in part 2. Bye. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to watch the podcast. God bless you. Bye.